I've been wanting to do this for a long time. This is Mark from A Current Christianity, or just Mark PH70, depending on how YouTube displays it. Global warming and why I don't believe in global warming. I have 6 reasons. One reason I don't believe in global warming is that it's a belief. Pierce Morgan from Hello Britain or whatever Britain, Good Morning Britain, was asked, do you believe in global warming? He said yes. It's what it is. I mean, why does it require belief to believe what is called science? We're calling it science. Why does it require belief? Why does someone say, I believe in global warming, like I believe in Santa Claus or I believe in Jesus Christ? There is more evidence for Jesus Christ that we have, and for events in the Scriptures, the Holy Scriptures, than there is evidence to us for believing in global warming. Again, the Catholic Church used to say, the Pope said this, it's true. And people say today, it's science. And people back in the Middle Ages used to say, it's the Catholic Church. You have to believe it's the Catholic Church. What we end up doing is not believing science, but we end up believing scientists. Because science does not lie. Scientists are political pundits. Which brings me to point 2. That was point 1. Brings me to point 2. It's a political football. They put it in schools. They want to teach global warming or climate change like they want to teach evolution. Evolution was controversial, and they put up some fake human transitional species. They put up some fake human transitional species. They put up one transitional species, supposed to be transitional species. It was shown to be a fraud. They put up another one that was shown to be a fraud. But it probably was what helped get evolution to schools. They said, look, it's proven. We have the link between apes and ape-like creatures, whatever it is, and man or humans. There's a link between ape-like creatures or apes and humans. We've got the evidence right there, and then they looked at the evidence. They said, okay, this is years later. They looked at the evidence. They said, okay, this is a fake. And then they put up another fake, and they looked at the evidence later on and said, okay, this is just a ape. This is just like gorilla or ape that's been shaped to look more like human, to look more human. It's a fake. And then there was the scientist emails. There was ClimateGate, and was well known at one point. One of the scientists in climate change research talked about hiding the decline. And so he says, that's not hiding the decline in temperatures, that's hiding the decline in tree rings. Well, why would scientists try to hide something? And I looked up myself. There were several. You can look up yourself if it's still available on the internet. It's a big story, It was a big story. They were saying it's ClimateGate, climate change is not real, or global warming is not real, and they put out the emails, for you to check for yourself. And one of the emails called it the trend of human-caused global warming. It's what it said. The trend of human-caused global warming. There was the hiding the decline. It was assumed that was declining temperatures, or actually was declining temperatures. I didn't read that email, but the attitude was, that's not really what he's trying to hide. Well, why are scientists trying to hide? They're out in the public. Why are they trying to hide data? So, and there was another one, I forget what it said, that I looked into. I had to look into very, very many emails from these scientists. But one of them said the trend of human caused global warming. Another, and the one that was popular was hiding the decline. He used someone's trick to hide the decline. So the scientists themselves, the climate scientists themselves, are denying global warming. And the people, the scientists that say that global warming is real, are not climate scientists. So it's like what I heard somebody say about a Christian biologist or a Christian scientist, I think, a Christian biologist, and he was a teacher, and I think he had a master's in biology. And somebody said, well, he should have a master's in evolution. And somebody else said, well, he should have a PhD. He can't talk until he has a PhD. That's argument by status. That's argument from authority, not argument in se. Also, I mean, as I said, it's become a political football. You have to, and now they're saying you have to change. I said, that's first was it had to be a belief. It's global warming and climate change. It was a belief, and then it became political. And so you look at scientists' emails, and they deny that there's global warming. They say, okay, this is a fraud. And then it not only is it political, but it demands lifestyle changes. It's kind of like evolution. I went to a science museum. I saw some dinosaur bones. They were all supposed to be dinosaur bones. I said, are those actual dinosaur bones? They said, no, it's a replica. Well, where are all these dinosaur bones? Why do you go to science museums? They say that's a replica. That's a replica. Maybe the original dinosaur bones were replicas. You know, that's a hot topic, though. People generally consider that evolution happened and the dinosaurs exist. But they demand we change our lifestyle. We can no longer use, or not supposed to be allowed in the future to use gasoline-powered cars. They're destroying the planet, and somebody, there's another point. Maybe this is point. There's just falsehoods. I could put this but they demand we change our lifestyle. They demand we drive different cars. They want us to not ride in planes. No more planes, unless they be, I guess, fully electric. And a lot of these the demands for everything being electric are beyond the country, the localities and the country's ability to produce without using radioactive materials. A lot of times, I would say, I forgot about this one. There was a fifth one. I had 6 of them. I thought of another one, but this is fifth. There was a woman who said, just a falsehood. There was a woman who said, by 2020 there will be no life on Earth. Everything will be dead. So it's become political. I mean, it's just like the same thing with the evolution, the missing link for humanity, how we came from apes or ape-like creatures, and they keep on putting up these frauds. And if the evidence is replete that we came from apes, then why do they keep on having to put up frauds? You can look it up. We now have a missing link called Lucy, and it's basically a jaw and maybe just the jaw and maybe a hand or something like that, some bones to a hand, or it's not very much what Lucy's made up of. And they call the person Lucy. I don't even think that they know whether Lucy was male or female. And Supposedly the parts, that's what I heard, supposedly the parts were, the different bone fragments were strewn across several miles. And they say this is the missing link now. Because they have to put up another one. But they will say, we cannot do this anymore. That's another thing about global warming, the falsehood. You know, people get up politically and say, we can't live like we're living anymore. We have to change our lives or we'll be destroyed by global warming. Everything on Earth will be dead by 2020. Well, while I'm recording this, we're in August 2025. So we didn't die in 2020. But they said the same thing about peak oil. I could get to that in a little while. They said the same thing about peak oil. They said by the year 2000, there will be no more oil left available on the planet. By the year 2000, there will be no more oil left. And it's not only that it's lies and that it takes belief and that it's becoming political and it's been shown to be false. The scientists believe there is no global warming or climate change. And they demand us change our lives. But they're also propagandizing children. They're saying, children, you have to believe in this. It goes pretty much along with the whole thing about women are men and men are women and women with penises and men with vaginas. I mean, that's just basic common sense. That men don't have vaginas and that women don't have penises. Oh, yes, they do. I mean, people know it's a lie. I think we're going to confuse our children with that. But it's propagandizing children. They make books for children. There was the Rescue Mission book saying, you know, we need to reduce the population. And they've been talking about reducing the population to 500 million. We have to do this to save the planet. And finally, there's peak oil. They said in the 80s, or the 70s, maybe both. They said we're going to run out of oil by the year 2000. By the year 2000, maybe by the year 1980 or 1990. It was at least by the year 2000. I think it might have been 1980. Back in the 70s, they said we're going to run out of oil. We're going to have to find an alternative fuel source, which is what we're doing now. We're using an alternative fuel source. And they said the ozone layer is very important. That's why we stopped using styrofoam. Used to be McDonald's put their food in styrofoam containers, and they used to have styrofoam cups. They said we can't do that. You know, it's just the ozone layer. The ozone layer is being depleted, and that will be scorched by the heat from the sun from the ozone layer. So what I'm trying to say is this kind of propaganda has a history, even though it's been proven false. It has a history of people saying, we need to do this about the ozone layer. And they found out they said the ozone layer was depleting from chlorofluorocarbons, which are being emitted by styrofoam. If you don't know what styrofoam is, you can look it up. It's spelled with a Y, S-T-Y, and then the rest is pretty obvious. They said that styrofoam was destroying the ozone layer. Then they said later on, oh, the ozone layer naturally has holes in it. So they said there were holes in the ozone layer. It was very dangerous. They would scorch us. We would get cancer, or whatever they said. And they said, later, the ozone layer naturally has holes in it. The ozone layer isn't being destroyed. And they said to stop global warming, they needed to feed cows fluorocarbons, the exact same thing they said was destroying the ozone layer. And back in the 70s, they talked about global cooling. So there are people that said, they talk about global cooling, but nobody really took it seriously. There were minor scientists. Well, it was in National Geographic. I looked at the magazine in my school in the 70s, or maybe about 70s, I would say. I looked at a magazine. It said there'll be global cooling. It's coming soon. It's a new ice age, which where we probably get the movie Ice Age from. The idea from the movie was probably from the 70s. Scientists saying there will be global cooling, will be a global ice age. You know, they said we won't have enough crops to feed everybody, so naturally we'd have to reduce the population. They I saw a magazine not that long ago. I'd say probably about 5 or 7 years ago. I saw a magazine. It said smoking is good for your health, and there was a doctor said that he smoked so that he could have better digestion. They said smoking aids with digestion, and the doctor said I smoke. And then you have the right to choose, and they said, well, it's not a baby, but if you look back at Planned Parenthood's propaganda, they used to say you are killing a baby. Now they don't say it's not a baby. So I mean, there is propaganda all over the place for what people want to do. There will be propaganda for probably a long time in the future. So you can think whatever you want to. You can believe what they tell you without evidence. I heard it was propagandizing children 6 point and said, and peak oil, ozone layer, global cooling, smoking for health, the right to choose, that's point 7. So you can believe whatever you want to believe, even if it's proved to be false, or for one time stated, one thing is stated, then the opposite thing is stated. You can believe what you want. I think you're being hoodwinked. And it's why I don't believe in global warming, because of these reasons. Because with the Catholic Church, and I don't mean to offend Catholics, but it's not only with the Catholic Church, it's with everything. They've told us one thing, and they said, believe us, believe us. The same thing with the pandemic and the injections. They said, you need to get these. You know, you won't be able to, it'll keep you from spreading, you won't get it, it'll keep you from spreading it if you have it. You know, you won't get the disease if you get these injections, and you won't be able to spread it. And was that true? So those are my thoughts. Think what you want. People want to know, why should I believe this? Why shouldn't I believe that? Well, I told you what I think.